Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to this week's Productive Agent Podcast. My name is Tony Ruiz. I'm the founder and host of the Productive Agent Podcast and Facebook group. And today I'm joined by Mr. Jack Harvey of Ion Solar. How you doing, man?
Doing good, Tony. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you coming in. And you're in town visiting family.
Yep.
Right, and you just moved out. How long you been in Houston now?
About a year and a half now.
Okay.
Yeah, originally from San Antonio, but
yeah,
I like Houston quite a bit more.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot. My brother is obviously from here, and then he lived in Houston for several years. Now he's in a New Orleans area.
Oh, nice.
He's oil and gas. But yeah, there's a lot of cool things about Houston.
Yeah.
You recently got a new place in downtown Houston.
Yeah, downtown Houston, got a good view,
Yeah.
Centralized, so I like it.
So Jack and I know each other because he was the fifth bass drummer at Churchill High School when I was teaching, and super quiet. I never heard you speak. You just showed up, did your job, and But you've always kind of been into sales, and talk to me a little bit about your sales mindset even back in high school.
Yeah, I've always had a sales mindset. I always told people I'm going to be in sales. This is what I'm going to do. And It all started off with just not wanting to do the typical 9 to 5. I enjoyed talking with people. I enjoyed just sales in general. And I always knew that I wanted to be in sales, just didn't know quite what I wanted to do. And then after high school, got into it, fell in love with it. And now direct sales is definitely the way to go. That's where I'm going to be. That's my career.
Yeah. We reconnected because I saw, some of his posts on social media. I think by that time that I kind of noticed what you were doing, you were already in solar sales. But pretty much right out of high school, you started with Cutco. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Cutco, they're actually the high-quality knife company. So they sell high-quality kitchen knives. So I did sales selling kitchen knives, doing in-home appointments for people, selling these $2,000, $3,000 expensive set of kitchen knives, and ended up doing really well at it. It's a great product. Still believe it's probably the best product out there today, but ended up getting from that, doing a lot of direct sales with homeowners, ended up moving to a management type role. I ran a district office for them for a little over a year. So I was with them for about 2.5 years before I actually made the switch into the solar industry. And I've been with solar. Next month will be my 4th year in solar.
What did you like about, because you're pretty much going door to door selling knives.
No, so the knives was actually just talking family and friends and using your inner circle, and then it was basically all referrals.
Okay.
So I had never done door to door at all before solar.
Okay.
Always, if you were to tell me 5 years ago I'd be doing door to door, I would probably said you're crazy. There's no way in hell I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
And now there's no other way I'll go back.
Sure. Yeah. What did you feel like you learned at Cutco that you kind of still utilize to this day?
Working with people, basic sales skills, people skills, communication skills. The number one thing is recruiting. So Cutco's a big recruiting business, recruiting people to sell their actual knives and their products. And a lot of it is referral based as well. So I would say recruiting is the biggest thing I implemented between Cutco and actually going over to solar. But I actually credit probably almost all of my success to Cutco.
Oh, that's cool, man. So tell us a little bit about recruiting. What would you say is maybe a couple of the keys to recruiting a new sales agent?
Well, a lot of it is trust, being a real human being, having an interaction and, getting to know them on a personal level, but making sure that they know what the opportunity is. And at the end of the day, it's all you're doing is, life is a sale. You're just selling them on the opportunity. And so the best recruiter is going to sell them on the opportunity in a way where it's not pushy, where you're not, trying to, bite their head off, but in a way where you can kind of lay out the opportunity for them and show them a vision for the future is pretty much all recruiting is about.
Yeah, I like that. Well, cool. We're going to talk more about that later.
Yeah, for sure.
Right on. So you did that for a few years, and then I guess you got recruited to Ion Solar. Tell us about that. What did you know about solar? Did you know anything? Or you just joined it and then you figured it out as you went, right?
Yeah, I didn't know anything about solar. When I worked at Cutco, I ran a sales team for them, and the sales team across the hallway was actually the Ion sales team. And I noticed it was just a bunch of guys. They always had a good time. They all drove really nice cars. They made good money. And the manager over there who ran that office actually worked at Cutco for 10 to 12 years in the early 2000s. And so he would come over and talk with me. We got to know each other. After 6 months of him trying to actively recruit me, I actually ended up doing the kitchen knives sales team and doing recruiting for them because they had struggled with recruiting, and that's what was my background. And so I recruited for them. I was doing both for 6 months, and I ended up making way more money doing that, just doing part-time. So I just made the switch and made the leap over to solar, and I have no regrets.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about Ion Solar. Who is Ion Solar? Where are they from? What's the product like?
So I absolutely love Ion Solar, and when I went into solar, I researched. I just didn't go with the first company I went with. I researched like 6 or 7 different solar companies to go like, is this company actually the real deal? Now, in the state of Texas alone, there's over 300 different solar companies out there. A lot of them are like small fly-by-night companies or like sketchy companies where like they'll sign someone up for solar and then 3 months later they're installing the panels on the back of a U-Haul truck or something like that. And so Ion, we're actually the largest privately owned solar company in the U.S., number 4th largest if you count public and private for residential solar installations. This month is actually our 10-year anniversary. So
Nice.
We've been around for quite a while. We're based out of Provo, Utah, but our whole thing is that we're a premium solar provider, so we do everything start to finish. So not only are we veteran owned and operated, but we actually do everything from the installation, the customer service, the permits, the HOA, everything from start to finish, from the guy knocking on your door trying to sell you the solar panels to the person on the roof and everyone doing the behind the scenes. So we're a one-stop shop. On top of that, all of our panels are going to be high-quality American-made panels, so we're using some of the best products out there. A lot of companies, and a lot of times if you hear someone who's had a bad experience with solar, 9 times out of 10 is because they bought the cheapest crap from China or from India, or they went ahead and just did the cheap route and they subcontracted out to the lowest bidder, which gives issue with your roof and your house. And so that's why we do everything in house. And then also the reputation of the company. I don't know if you've ever heard of a corporation called Blackstone.
Yeah,
they're like one of the largest companies in the world. They own like a big piece of everything. So Blackstone actually owns, I think it's like a third of Ion.
Oh, okay.
They invested like millions of dollars in Ion about a year ago, and so we're backed by them. Not only that, do we have zero debt as a company also, so we're probably one of the most stable solar companies, not only in Texas but in the nation. So with that, being backed by Blackstone, not having to worry about them going out of business or anything like that, and then just the way that they do their business is really what kind of drove me to go with that solar company, and I love them. I've been with them for almost 4 years now, and I see myself here for another 10 plus years.
Yeah, I love to hear all that because I'm actually a client of Ion Solar.
That's right.
And when I bought my house back in July 2022, my neighbor right next door and my neighbor right across the street both had solar panels, and they both used Ion Solar. And
Yes.
I think I had already talked to you about real estate and solar.
I was going to reach out to you at some point. I think it just kind of went under the radar.
Yeah.
And I actually got a text from a friend or a call from my friend one day. He's a good friend of mine. He actually manages our San Antonio office now, Noe Cortez. And he was just like, hey, do you know Tony Ruiz? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, I just sold him solar. He says he knows you. It was like small world. And I was like, in my head, I was like, oh, man, he got there first.
Yeah, it was funny because like I went with Ion, and I there's multiple companies that came and knocking, all right, and I was listening to them and all that, and I just felt good with Noe, and the product, and then I talked to my neighbors. There was multiple neighbors, a couple others used different companies, and I really trust my neighbor across the street, Thomas Hahn, shout out. But he's like, oh, I love it. It's been great, blah, blah. Ion's great. I was like, okay, cool. So I tried it out, and then I was like, wait a second. I know somebody at Ion, and it was, made the connection, and I see you and Noe hanging out all the time.
Yeah, so. He's a good friend of mine. I actually got him into solar when he first came on, and so we actually used to work at Cutco together.
Okay.
So we actually ran one of the most successful Cutco summer offices in the entire region.
Wow.
So he was better at his job than I was, but he ended up bringing him over to solar, and he's still here, and he loves it too.
Great, man. That's awesome. So talk to us a little bit about the different companies. You mentioned a crap load just in Texas. I just recently helped somebody close a house, and that company is out of business. So like these warranties sound great, but you got to trust the company's going to be around, else that warranty doesn't really mean much.
Exactly, and that's the biggest thing that you see with solar, and a lot of it is just the company that you go with. And unfortunately, there are some companies out there that kind of there are some companies where you'll see where they put solar on your house, and then 2 years later they're out of business. There's no there's fly-by-night companies where they literally work out of a truck. They don't have an office. They don't have any centralized location or customer service, and they move city to city, summer to summer, and they just blitz in the summertime, market, knock doors, schedule people, go over solar. They can get the panels installed because they subcontract out to a third-party company, and then they're either out of business or they don't care about the customer service or after the fact. But if one of those subcontractors goes out of business, usually all the warranties and everything go out the window as well. So I would say there's probably about maybe 3 to 5 solar companies out there that I actually trust.
Yeah.
And those are companies who kind of do the same things that we do, but Ion just does it as a little bit of a higher level. And, we're good on price, but also we're reputable. We actually have more installs in the San Antonio and in Texas as a whole than all the other solar providers out there, just because in San Antonio especially, we have the majority of the systems here, but a lot of it's just who you're going to go with, because you don't want to go with that company who's sketchy. A lot of these companies aren't rated on the BBB. They don't have Ion has an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. The Better Business Bureau, for most people that don't know, it's not where you go to leave good reviews. It's where you go to leave the bad ones.
Yeah.
The good thing is that the companies that have all of those issues resolved those are the companies who get like an A+ rating and such. And so that's the most important thing, is not only getting, because stuff happens. You install solar panels. 1 out of every 10,000 solar installations, you get like a roof leak or something like that. But you're going to get a company who's actually going to make it right. So that, if something were to happen, we'd fix the roof, we'd fix the panels, we would do everything because it's fully warranted. And since we're backed by Blackstone, we're probably the least likely solar company to go out of business, which is nice. So you don't have to worry about losing anything. But going with the right company is the make or break of having a good or a bad solar experience on your home.
Yeah. So I think the reason that this episode is so important is because I think there's so many people that just don't understand what solar is. How does it work? Is it worth it? I'm buying more and now I own something else on top of my house that I own. Can you talk to us a little bit about, how it all works and why somebody should consider, getting solar?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of benefits for solar, and obviously, you got to look at it with an open mind. So anybody who's listening who's like a real estate agent, or maybe you've been in the industry for 10, 20 years, there is a huge stigma between real estate agents and solar. Just because solar is completely different than how it used to be in the past. Like in the past, you'd have to invest a ton of money up front, or you'd have to lease the panels, or you'd have to add a lien to your home. And there were all these negatives that really impacted it, and that's what they taught. Like if you go in, when you were getting your real estate license, the books that they have in real estate school, a lot of those books are the same material and the same stuff that they've been using for 20, 30 years. And so, it's evolved over time, and a lot of that stuff hasn't been updated. But real estate agents, from the majority, anytime I've sat down and tried to sell solar to a real estate agent or talk to them about solar, like 80% of the time, they're usually turned off by it because they just automatically believe, well, hey, my broker told me this, that's not true. So-and-so told me this, and they just have a lot of misconceptions about it. And then when I ask them, what do they know about it? They're like, well, I don't really know how it works. And then when I sit down to educate them, usually a lot of that stuff kind of comes to light and they can kind of see how it works. But when you go solar, all solar is you're basically buying your power in bulk. So the solar panels, you're basically paying for the solar panels. Now, nowadays, there's no out-of-pocket cost. There's no down payment. There's no huge investment you need to make. What pays for the solar panels, because they're not free, what pays for it is a monthly payment. Now, that monthly payment that you pay to the power company, we take the money you're paying with the power company, and we redirect that money going towards paying for your actual solar panels. The only difference is, depending on where the placement is and where they're located at, that monthly payment for the solar system is either the same or a little bit less than what you're paying to the power company. So there are some savings there, depending if your home qualifies or not. But basically, you're buying 30 years worth of energy in bulk. And so it's no different than like if you walk down the aisle to Costco and you walk down one of the aisles and bought this giant barrel that said 30 years worth of energy, and you just came home and put it on your roof. And every time you needed to pull energy from it, you just pulled it from that barrel. That's all you're doing with solar, because the panels realistically last 35 to 40 years, but we warranty them for 30 plus years as well. But let's say you go to sell your home 10 years from now and you have 20 years worth of energy left on your roof. Well, you can market that energy because it's locked in at a low price. You can market that with the home when you actually sell it. And so solar panels do increase some sort of value to your home. If someone doesn't think that solar adds any value whatsoever, it's usually someone who doesn't know how it works, or they're relying strictly on just like, the way that the system works with, an appraisal and everything like that. I've actually sold solar in San Antonio to 2 appraisalists. Who actually didn't know how it worked. One had it in the past and knew how it worked. And when I was picking their brain, the biggest thing was one of them says, well, I always make it a wash. I always try to make sure that they get their money back from it. One person said that they always add, like, depending on the size of the system, they do like a $15,000 or $25,000 added value to the home. So it's just depending on, there's a lot of different factors out there. Obviously, if you have these cheap Chinese panels that are subcontracted out and you went with one of these, low-end solar companies, probably not going to add much value to your home because you're not going to get that much of a benefit. But if you have a quality locked-in price for power Because with solar, since you're getting locked in at a price for power, like for example, your home, your average power bill, I think before you got your solar panels, your average power bill was $133 a month. Because your bills go up in the summertime. You probably had like 160 bills in the summertime, and you probably had like $110 or $100 in the wintertime. Instead of paying your $133 on average a month bill with the power company, not only that, but CPS energy company here in San Antonio, they've raised the rates for power every year for the last 25 years. And so anywhere from 3 to 5% each year. And so right now, I know your solar payment's like $101 a month.
Right.
That $101 a month is going to be the same every month, 12 months out of the year for the entire term that you have your solar panels. So you're basically protected from all of the inflation from the power company.
Right.
And so that's a huge benefit for yourself. And
Well,
so,
especially in San Antonio when there's only one energy company.
yeah, and we call
They
them
have a
the
monopoly.
they're in the monopoly. And so like if you want to shut off your power, you either have to shut off your power or that's it. You basically don't have any other options since they're owned by the city. And they usually, since they are the monopoly, they can get away with more rate increases than some of the other co-ops or some of the other regions in different parts of Texas. But at the end of the day, if you didn't have solar, you were either going to rent your power in that home until you die there or until you move into it somewhere else. There's no alternative. So with solar, you're just basically putting an expiration date on your power bill. And so it's no different. I like to explain it no different than renting versus owning a home. Right now, you're renting your you were renting your power, kind of like renting an apartment, where every time you paid that $130 or that $150, it went out the window every single month, and you never really saw it go anywhere. Now we're just taking that same money you're already spending and putting it towards an asset on your roof, because the solar panels retain their value really well. It's not like a car where there's moving parts and it's depreciating a ton. The solar panels retain their value very well because they last 35 to 40 years. They're completely resistant to hail, all these different types of weather, and so you can take them, put them behind your car, back your car up over them. Yeah. That's how durable they are, especially if you have good high quality American-made panels. But that's all you're doing. You're buying your power in bulk, you're locking it in at a fixed rate, and you're basically, at the end of the day, you're just trying to get a return on investment on your power bill, because technically your return on investment on your power bill is negative. Once you pay that to the power company, you never see them give that money back. We're trying to keep that money in your household and basically have it work towards an end date compared to just going out the window.
Yeah. If you didn't listen to that and go, man, this guy knows what he's talking about, then you need to re-listen to that. So you need to contact this guy if you want to know more. He could talk to you all about the ins and outs. Yeah. So that was great, man. I appreciate that. I just look at it as like, hey, I'm going to try to pay this off as soon as possible. Some people are like, well, you're paying that for 30 years. And yes, that is the note of the loan, right? But it's like, if I plan on paying this off in 5 years or even 10 years, then all of a sudden I'm just paying my CPS bill, right? Yeah, which by the way, my CPS bill, I paid my $100 for my solar panels, and I think I paid $23 total for my CPS bill, and that's with gas. So there is a tiny little charge of like, I forgot what they call it. There's a
connection fee.
Yeah, the connection fee.
The only thing it used to be with solar, and one of the negatives on it is you'd have to spend a ton of money up front, or you'd have to lease it. It used to be where you'd have to have like a monthly payment for the solar panels, and then you'd still have your full electric bill. So you'd basically be paying 2 power bills. And then after 10, 15 years, you start to finally see the savings and finally see your return on investment. Yeah. So since it's just a bill redirection now, most of the times if your home qualifies, we're never going to ask you to spend a single dime on solar that you aren't already spending with the power company, which is the huge benefit. Now, on top of that, the government has a bunch of incentives in place. And so like for your system, I know the government actually gave you a tax credit. It was like over $10,000 that the government gave you in the form of a tax credit.
Right.
And so you can take that money from the government and you can apply it towards the solar system and pay it off even quicker, which saves you even more money. Or you can take that money and you can pocket it. And so like that $10,000, if you take that $10,000 right now, I think the market, you can get like a CD for like a 6% return. You take that $10,000, put it in like a 6% return, and in 25 years, whenever you would have paid off the solar panels or whatever it is, then you just, it turns into like $45,000 and you don't have to really worry about it. It paid for itself and then some. But usually the savings over a 30-year window, usually you're saving anywhere from $60,000 to $80,000 off the money that you would have been spending to the power company.
Yeah, and again, going back to, do you think that the cost of electricity is going to go up or down over the next 5 to 10 years? It's only going to go up.
Yep.
Right. And it's like we're able to lock it in here and just write it on out.
Correct. It's no different than like if you could go back 20 years ago and lock in the price of gas, would you do it?
Yeah.
In a heartbeat,
For
right?
sure.
Yeah. That's all you're doing. You're locking it at a fixed rate. and then you're actually putting that money towards something, because the solar panels add value to your home. There's a lot of studies out there, Forbes, the Wall Street Journal, the U.S. Department of Energy, so many different places that have done reviews on solar panels. Now, it depends on the market. It depends, of course, where you're at. Am I saying you're gonna get every single bit of your money back if you go solar? It just depends on the situation. Depends. The most important factor is probably what type of panels and what company you go with, which is why it's important to have a reputable company who's been in business a while. But like, for example, in California, I don't know if you know this, but it's actually California state law that any new home being built in the state of California is required by law to have solar on it. So who knows? I don't see that coming to Texas anytime soon, but who knows, 5, 10 years down the road, if everyone's going solar and all these homes have solar panels, like if you walk into a neighborhood in California, 90% of all the homes already have solar. So you think once, supply and demand, once everyone starts putting these solar panels up, do you think they're going to give $10,000 checks to everyone once it's mandated and everyone needs to have it up? Probably not. So the people who do it first are taking the huge advantage of it, and they're the ones who are getting the tax incentives, the tax breaks, and then they're also taking advantage of all those savings, because time is the most valuable asset of all. And if you're just, like say, if you rent your home for 10 years, when that could be 10 years, you could just be putting that money towards your mortgage. Obviously, owning is better than renting, and that's why solar makes so much sense, because you're owning your power instead of renting it from the power company.
Like it, man. So I think there are, again, going back to, and that's why this episode is important, is we're trying to educate, right? And misconceptions of, okay, well, I'm going to do solar, but what if I want to sell my house in 5 years and it's not paid off? And how do I do that? Can you talk to us a little bit about some of the options? And, of course, I could give some insight on my side as well, but go ahead.
Great questions. And so a lot of people who hear solar, a lot of them will ask, well, my real estate agent says it doesn't add value. And a lot of it is because, one, the real estate agent, being completely honest with you, the real estate agent either doesn't know how solar works, or a lot of times solar does make it just a little bit more difficult to market your home if you don't know what you're doing. Like if your real estate agent knows absolutely nothing about solar and you're trying to have them sell your home that has solar, it's going to be a pain, okay? And so you got to make sure you have a real estate agent who knows about solar and is educated on that, because there are some people that try to sell homes with solar and they don't even have it in the listing that, hey, this home has a locked-in power rate, these panels are paid off, whatever it might be. That's the huge benefit, because that's a huge selling point whenever you go to sell your house. Because as of right now, homes that you actually have that have solar on there actually sell 19% faster on the market due to a review that was done by Zillow this last year. So homes with solar tend to sell quicker than homes without, because most people want a high cost of living. If I told you, hey, there's a home over here that has solar panels and this electric bill is $4 a month, because the solar panels are paid off, and the same exact home over here has a $250, $300 electric bill, the difference is different. Yeah, especially now when you look at it, some people go, well, why would I want to pay more for a home that has solar? Like, for example, the solar systems, let's say this home has solar and it has a $4 power bill and the other home has that $300 power bill. Let's just say the solar systems cost $30,000. Well, most people would rather pay an extra $30,000 on their home to have a home that have an actual home that has solar and have a fixed cost for utilities for the entire time they're going to live there, especially if they're going to live there long term, compared to just paying this really high bill with the power company that's increasing year to year. Now, yes, maybe you have to go ahead and buy this home that has an extra $30,000 worth of solar panels. When you reflect how much $30,000 makes on like a 30-year mortgage, depending on your interest rate, it's nothing super, super crazy. And it's anywhere from $110 to $130 a month. So would you rather buy a home, pay an extra $30,000 for the home, maybe pay an extra $100, $150 a month on your mortgage, or would you rather buy this home that has a little bit cheaper home price but has this $300 power bill that's increasing year to year, guaranteed? So that's the huge selling point there. Most people don't think of it that way, and when you market that and when you actually explain how solar works with the actual home to an actual prospective buyer, it opens up their world, and they're like, well, yeah, maybe I'd be willing to do that. So when you go to sell your home, a lot of times you just go ahead and you can increase the value of the home with solar by marketing it up a little bit. Now, of course, it's going to come in at the end of the day, it's going to be the appraisal that's going to determine that, because you can list it for whatever, but the appraisal is going to kind of determine what it's worth. So the second option would be, one of the biggest concerns that we have, first off, is people say, well, let's say you want to buy this home and you go to your lender and your actual home price is, you can qualify for a $400,000 house. And let's say you want to buy this $400,000 house, but then you have these solar panels that cost $30,000 and they want you to either transfer the solar panels into their name or X, Y, and Z. and they don't have that extra $30,000 in their budget to actually qualify for that, that's when it can be a hassle. And so you do got to shop in that price range. But you can always transfer the actual solar system over to the next homeowner. So that's important also why you get a good company, because some of these companies don't transfer warranties. You want to make sure that you can transfer it. But transferring that warranty to the next homeowner is a very simple process. It's usually an extra document that they sign at closing. But we warranty the panels, we warranty the roof, we also warranty the energy that comes off the panels as well. So everything's warranted on all ends. Of course, we can't predict what the weather's going to be like every certain day, every single month, but we do base it off of weather patterns, conservative numbers, all of that. But basically, let's say your solar payment's $100 a month and you want to sell your home. Let's just say you sell your home in 5 years and your solar payment, I know it's $101 a month. Well, someone else can just pick up that $101 a month and just take on that monthly payment, compared to, when you sell your home 5 years from now, when your average power bill is over $170 a month. Obviously they're in a better situation, but they do have to qualify for it. And so usually if they qualify for the home, usually they can qualify for solar, because the bottom line to qualify for solar is you have to have, they don't really check debt to income ratio, which is great to qualify for solar. They don't even really check income that much either. I've sold $30,000, $40,000 solar systems to people who have a combined household income of like $30,000, because at the end of the day, it's money that they were already going to be spending on their power bill. But one of the things that you can do is when you make the switch, you can actually take a look at all those different things, and you can see exactly what you're looking at. And you can actually switch it over to the next homeowner to where they don't have to worry about paying an electric bill. They might pay like a $4 to $5 connection fee, or maybe like a $10 to $15 fee to the power company.
Right.
But then they just have that $101 a month flat rate 12 months out of the year, and then that's where they see all the benefits, because they're saving money and it's not costing them any money out of pocket. And so, like you said you wanted to pay the solar panels down as quick as you can. The reason you'd want to do that is to alleviate interest. Luckily, with solar financing, it's simple interest, so it's not like a home note where you're paying all your interest up front. With solar, you're paying a lot of the principal down in the beginning, which is good, so that's why it's able to build equity. But solar panels don't lose a ton of their value. So like I said, you're putting that money in towards basically an investment, and you can pull that out when you go to sell your house. Now, like if you're going to sell your home in like a year, probably not a good idea to go solar, to be completely honest with you, if you're going to sell your home in like a year, 2 years. But if you're going to be there at least 4 or 5 years, longer than that, the longer you're in your home, the more you're going to save. And it makes a ton of financial sense, because once you pay off those solar panels, that's it. You own your power. It's like paying off your house. You don't have a mortgage anymore. You basically paid off your power. You don't have an electric bill anymore, and you might have a small connection fee, like a $5 to $10 power bill. But like if you stay in that house for 10, 15, 20 years, let's say you pay it off in 5 years or 10 years, and everyone else around you has a $300 power bill, you'll just have that, $10 power bill, and then that's it.
Yeah, for sure. No, I'm enjoying it so far, especially when I see that CPS bill go way down.
Very small bill, and then
cool.
every year the savings grow.
Yeah, for sure. You touched on it a little bit. The sales agent for Ion or any other company versus the real estate agent. Is there anything more that you want to go deeper on that?
Yeah, usually because for the real estate agent, if you don't know anything about solar and you don't know how solar works, and you're trying to sell a home that has solar on it, it can be a hassle. It can be a hassle because now you have to go out of your way. You have to learn a new system. And real estate agents, just like any other salesperson, at the end of the day, they're trying to get a sale. And the best way to get a sale is to not complicate stuff super crazy. And so if you're trying to go and sell a home that has solar, or you're trying to have someone that wants to buy a home that with solar, a lot of real estate agents will say, oh, you don't want solar, it's horrible, or it doesn't add value, or X, Y, and Z, because it complicates their whole process. And so there are some real estate agents out there who have solar, like yourself, who know the benefits and actually do encourage it. And there's real estate agents out there that actually specialize in, depending on which state and what market you're in, they actually specialize in selling homes with solar. So they actually go out of their way to find those homes that have solar and try to market those, because they know the value. And then really a lot of the times, if you hear someone ever have a bad experience with solar, it's like solar leases. There's companies out there, even to this day, where I'm from in Houston and in San Antonio, that sell solar leases, where you're basically renting the panels and you don't own it. So there's no equity. You don't get the tax credit because technically the solar company owns it. Solar leases are one of the worst options. We call those PPAs. But those add liens to your house. Just so you know, solar ownership program does not add a lien to your house. which is huge. And so it's technically classified as a UCC1, but it's not a lien. And so UCC1, you do have to pay it off before you can go and sell your house. But usually the solar panels don't cut into the proceeds or into your equity, because you would mark up the home at a certain price, or you would just transfer the solar panels over to the next homeowner. And usually who qualifies for the home, if they qualify for the home, I imagine they have a credit score of at least 600 or pretty close to that, so they should qualify to transfer that over as well. And it's a pretty simple process to do so. But in terms of real estate agents, just making sure that you have a good real estate agent who knows about solar. If they don't know about solar, just making sure they understand that. But when you look at the market now, 5 years ago, there wasn't nearly as much solar now. I guarantee you, if you walk into any single neighborhood here in San Antonio, you're going to find 2 to 5 solar systems. Like in your neighborhood alone, you probably have at least 10 to 15 there. So imagine where it's going to be 5 years from now. Right. Everyone has it, and it's just second nature. So you got to think long term. You got to think where the market's going to go. Texas in 10 years is probably going to be like California, where 90% of the homes have it. And then also whoever gets there first, the people who actually go and actually get locked in with solar, not only are they saving money now, but also if the power company ever changes like the rate buyback program or anything like that with the power company, a lot of times you get grandfathered in. So like now if you go solar in California, you actually have to buy all these expensive batteries. It's not nearly as beneficial. It costs more versus the people who did it 5 years ago, even just this last two to 3 years ago, they actually are grandfathered into the program. And so they actually took the benefits because they took the initiative to actually do it first. And they got also more tax incentives because the tax incentives do go down over time as well. But yeah, just make sure you have a real estate agent who knows what they're doing. If a real estate agent doesn't know about solar, I always recommend that they educate themselves and sit down with someone who knows something about solar to help them sell that house. Because it's like kind of how swimming pools, like 40 years ago, swimming pools didn't add any value to your home whatsoever. No one would ever pay more for a home with a swimming pool. Even today, there's a lot of real estate agents that say they add zero value to your home. Swimming pools are a little bit different, but you can see now you see people offering $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 more for a home because it has that pool that they want or it has that luxury item. Yeah. Unlike a pool, this is actually something that's saving you money. This is actually locking your price for power and saving you money month to month and year to year. Pool is not going to save you any money, but it's just a nice thing to have. But just the concept has changed so much over time that it's progressed into that.
Well, and I think the thing that sold me on it finally, even though I drug my feet a little bit and I was like, tell me more, was that I'm already paying that money anyways to CPS.
Exactly.
It's not like, hey, you got your CPS bill that's like fluctuates and you're paying something on top of that. All right. It's like, hey, I'm already paying X amount to CPS. We're going to build that into the solar panels and it's going to produce the energy, and so now I'm at a point where my solar panels are producing more energy than I use. So my energy bill is nothing. Now I have gas, gas cooking. So I pay for my gas bill through CPS and I have that like $5 or $10, whatever connection fee. So it's like, well, might as well. It's going back to buying versus renting, right? It makes more sense. Like you're putting it where,
Yeah, the biggest thing I actually tell people is to take the tax credit, because most people don't realize how valuable that tax credit is. Because like that $10,000, if you were to actually have the number here, if you were to take that, did you use that tax credit for the solar system?
Yeah.
Okay, and so we actually recommend that you take that and you don't. So for example,
I'm sorry, I didn't. No, I didn't.
You didn't?
It towards it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And so like if you don't take the tax credit and you actually keep that, like if you kept that $10,000 for yourself, your option would be you'd actually pay $145 a month for your solar system if you decided to take that tax credit and use it for something else. Now, like I said, if you take that $10,000, a lot of people can use that towards credit card debt. They can use it to pay down any debt they want, put it towards their mortgage, take that vacation they always wanted to take, whatever it is. Just imagine if you had $10,000 sitting on your table.
Or just owe less in taxes.
Yes, or owe less in taxes, less you have to pull out of your bank account to pay the IRS because no one, likes taxes. But the actual difference would be actually $12 more than what you'd be paying for the power company. So if I told you, hey, go solar, now you're going to pay an extra $12 a month for power, but you get $10,000 when you get your taxes.
Right.
That's huge because we know that the power company is raising the prices. You paying that extra $12 more than what you're already paying isn't going to last long.
Right.
So maybe you pay an extra $12 a month for like a year, maybe 2 years to get $10,000.
Plus it's locked in.
Yeah, and it's locked in.
It stays there when the energy is going to continue to grow. Go up in price.
Yeah, because you can use that $10,000 and, a lot of people out there can invest it and use it to do other things. Yeah. And, at the end of the day, whether you pocket the tax credit and you invest the money or you put it back into the solar system. It's an investment either way, but you're just trying to get a return on investment on the money that you're spending on power compared to that money just going out the window.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. Is there any other information that you want to take time to share? I think you shared a lot of it. Is there anything that we missed?
Well, in regards to solar, most people just don't know how it works. A lot of the people that we talk to, the reason why you see solar being done door to door, and I look at it as, doctors work in a hospital because that's where their patients are. We work at homes and we go door to door because it's the best way to generate leads, but also that's where the solar panels are going to go. That's where the appointment's going to happen because that's at your house where the solar panels are going to go. And so that's why we market it that way. But most people, if they're opposed to solar, it's because they just don't know how it works. I truly believe that if a home has good sunlight and they have a good roof and they're going to be there at least 5 years, it's pretty much a no-brainer 9 times out of 10 if their home qualifies. Because it's either you're spending this money with the power company and it's going nowhere, or you're spending it towards solar and you're keeping it in your pocket and retaining that. And so at the end of the day, it is a no-brainer. I love my job because this stuff practically sells itself. I don't have to sit there and give a song and dance or convince anybody. My job is basically, here's the numbers, here's how the program works, what questions do you have? If you want to do it, great. If not, no worries. I have 18 other appointments this week of people who are looking into this as well. So that's what I love about my job the most. But just educating people on how it works. And then I love being able to help people save money every day.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. Bottom line is stop renting your house and stop renting your power.
Exactly.
So
own it.
Well, cool. If somebody wants to know more, how can they get a hold of you?
The best way to get in contact with me is to shoot me a text message or give me a call. I am a workaholic, so I'm on my phone all day long, but my phone number is 210-812-0393. That, or they can shoot me an email at jharvey@ionsolar.com, or you can always call into our corporate office, Ion Solar, and you can ask to speak with me directly. They can give you my phone number. But we do free energy consultations for anybody who wants one. It takes probably about 15-20 minutes. All we need is just a copy of a power bill, or just even if you're new to your home, we can even base it off the square footage, but just a copy of your power bill and a time for us to review the info. We can either do it over the phone or we can do it in person. But most homes that do qualify, they're able to get the solar panels installed, no out-of-pocket costs, no down payment. They actually don't even get their first solar payment until 30 to 60 days after the panels are installed, and usually they're able to save money from the very first month.
Yeah. So coming from a client, Ion Solar, it's a great company. This guy, Jack Harvey, super smart dude, knows a lot about solar. So make sure you contact this guy for any information.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Tony.
Yeah, man. So guys, that's the show. I hope you enjoyed it. A lot of great information shared. Hopefully you know a little bit more about solar and solar panels. If you like the show, share with a friend, share with people that might be interested in getting solar panels, or maybe they don't know about it. Share it with them. Leave us a review, give us a rating. That really helps us grow the show as well. Join our private Facebook group, The Productive Agent, and make sure to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, where you can subscribe. And we thank you for joining us today. Now let's get out there and go produce.